Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Star Trek episode review. We're here talking about Discovery Season 5, Episode 9, Lagrange Point. It would not be a NerdTube Trek review if I wasn't joined by some awesome Trekkies. To my right, we've got Ensign Donkey. How are you, sir?
I am good. How are you, Mr.
Doing,
Rage?
doing great. Proud to be here. And below us is our power bottom Zam, who...
I'm doing really well. I can't wait to talk about MacGuffin Point.
MacGuffin Point. Love it.
MacGuffin
Love it.
Point.
And I want all of Nerd Nation to show some love in chat for Zam. It is his birthday today, so let's show him some birthday love.
Thank you very much. I still have half an hour left of birthday here in the UK, and I still have 5.5 hours left on the east coast of America, baby.
You said what age? What do you mind revealing that?
No, I do not mind because it is what it is. I am 47 years old today.
Turning 47?
I am officially 47.
That means so. I just looked it up. Patrick Stewart was 47 when he started TNG season 1.
Yeah.
This is your.
This is your
Picard
year, man.
era.
It starts your Picard era. This is your year.
Cool. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
So, as he said, MacGuffin Point, the penultimate episode of the season, sees the race to the location of the progenitor's tech come to its conclusion, which is Discovery losing. But a heist scheme is plotted up to the container from the Breen ship.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Saru volunteers for an intercept mission for the Breen fleet that we find out is on the way to the location. So a lot to break down this week. We want to start with some overall impressions. Zam, what were your thoughts about this episode?
This being the penultimate episode, I did feel like this would be a two-parter, and the way it ended like the first part of a two-parter.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the whole season is serialized, this was more two-parter than anything, and it was a good first step to what will end up being the finale, I guess. I mean, it was a good infiltration episode. It's just nice to get some more Reese as well, getting involved in things like he was last week when he sat in the captain's chair. It was a good to okay episode. That's what I'm saying, and I'm happy to discuss more things as we go along.
Excellent. Donkey?
It felt like they had a lot crammed into a short amount of time. My objective opinion: this episode sucked balls, just awful. Good night.
I'll see you tomorrow, Rick B.
We we don't have Cheeto here to kick him out. or put him in timeout. I'm sorry, not kick him out. No, it felt like they had a lot crammed into this episode, and that just made it feel like it stumbled a few places. But overall, cool heist, cool, sleuthing around the Breen ship and getting to see Michael just yell at people for no reason.
Gotta let that anger out somewhere, man.
Mm-hmm.
All that bottled up rage.
Problem with them looking like Breen, like the uniforms are not distinctive enough individually for us to know who the hell we're watching at times, because
this is true.
Like when they're in the fights, are we winning or losing?
I thought real quick with that. Indira's too short to look like a storm, or to be dressed up like a stormtrooper.
Yeah. I was getting to that too.
Okay.
If I may add, like I think since films like Interstellar and stuff like that, I think people's knowledge on certain things like black holes have slightly improved over the years. Mm-hmm. So at the very beginning, when we had that little action scene where they were stuck between one black hole and they used the other black hole to get themselves pulled out of the other black hole, we kind of know that if you want to slow down time for yourself, and which means everyone else's time will speed up, that black hole thing plays a part in that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gravitational.
so, yeah, and so the fact that we kind of know these things now regarding the black hole, and they were in the gravitational pull, yet time never changed. Like, okay, I'll give you guys a pass on this one. Yeah,
That could have been a cool.
point.
It could have been a cool plot point where that's why the Breen showed up and got there first, because they were stuck in the time dilation.
Mm-hmm. And it would have been a cool time for them to pull out that line from the Time Bug episode. Do you remember when Michael went off and was like, "Oh yeah, Stamets is here because of his tardigrade DNA. He exists outside of time." Like, what?
It's outside of time.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty.
It's
cool
like
too.
this is the most Star Trek line of the season.
Yeah,
it really was.
Anyway, I was glad to see the black holes looked like the image. Cause I remember a few years ago they got good pictures of black holes from the new telescope, and they matched that. So it's good to see them, keeping in line with
good graphics
science.
on the accretion discs for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I wanted to break it down. I identified actually like 5 different kind of plot areas this episode. We have Michael and companion in the form of Book and Bravo team on the heist. We have Adira and Reese as Alpha team. We've got Saru's story. Tilly and Commander Grumpy Pants have a minor plot thread. And we've got Maul attempting to get back the tech. So that's a whole lot. So I want to just start at the top with Michael and Book, and we'll just kind of the heist, the main part of the heist. We've kind of covered how they ended up in the accretion disk and what we, thoughts of how they could have improved there. What did you guys think about the overall revelation of the plan of the heist? And did you immediately like me think, oh well, of course the plan is not going to go as planned now we've been told what the plan is? Sam?
Bungled heist is a terminology we use quite a lot, because every heist you watch on TV or film, it bungles, it goes off astray. Like, very rarely do things ever go according to plan.
Only in those.
Sorry, go on.
Unless they don't reveal the plan to you, and then it gets to be the cool thing of, okay, we get to see what the plan is. If they tell us the plan, the only fun will be in seeing it unravel and bungled.
Exactly. Like Ocean's 12, for instance, where and if you ever watched a series called Hustle, which was on the BBC, I highly recommend it. It's about long cons, about a group of, sorry for going on the tangent here. They help the little people by extracting money from rich people who are basically extracting money from poor people, but they do long cons to do it. And sometimes you think things are not working out as planned, but that's the whole point. That's part of the long con. It's supposed to look like things are fucking up when it isn't. But but going back to this wasn't the case. Obviously, these guys are not con men. They're scientists, they're explorers. They're trying to steal this device. Or I guess maybe Book is a bit of a con man. But regardless, I did expect things to screw up in a way. It was always going to be very difficult. Nothing was ever going to go according to plan. Regardless, I mean, the situation they're putting themselves in, was always going to be very complex.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add, Donkey?
The as soon as I start going over they're in the briefing room, and I love how shows and media they're doing this, where they start to explain this plan, but while they're talking about building the plan, they're showing you that they've already done the plan. So it's like they're just keeping pace with the plan. But as soon as they started talking about all this big elaborate plan, I thought back to Captain Cold from The Flash on CW.
Yes.
Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw the plan away.
God,
That's
damn,
it.
you got a better
Leonard
memory than I
bringing
have.
And I'm
snot.
like, oh, this is what's going to happen, and exactly what happened. Yeah, I feel like the fact that they just infiltrated a Breen ship, though, there was an opportunity to have more tension, and there was a little bit of that when they had trouble with the translators at first, but I feel like they could have played that up a little more. Also, how great that they get in through the exhaust port. Well, I wish they would have been called Red Team.
Right? Like
Okay.
Red Squadron.
Hmm.
You guys ever seen or played No Man's Sky?
Yes.
You know, like
I
sometimes when you talk to
love
the
that game.
aliens, they sound like
Hmm.
the Breen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the whole time I'm thinking of. When every time they
Like
were
Charlie
talking,
Parrot.
yeah, even the whole bloody space station, like the ship, the dreadnought, felt like a space station in No Man's Sky. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyways, I just thought I'd bring that up. Daniel Barr says, speaking of plans, the last piece of the puzzle was hidden where any pack lad with a tractor beam could get it. Well,
I,
it was in between. It was cleverly placed because nobody would want to go anywhere near a black hole, let alone two. And the fact that it was using the gravitational pull of both to keep it in the middle
yeah,
was a
we get
nice touch.
plug of the episode's title right there. It's in the Lagrange point. Like the what? Oh, okay.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, look, it's in space at the end of the day as well, but like space is like like unfortunately it's a bad way of explaining, but when you hear about those planes crashing in oceans, like it's just so difficult to know exactly where the wreckage is and stuff like that. And in space it's going to be a billion times more harder. You know, yeah, yeah. I don't think people are looking out for a device. It could be just some debris. For all people know, at the end of the day, it is a black hole. So yeah, and it's tiny as well. It's a fucking. I mean,
It
all right, it's
looked like
bigger
it
than
was supposed to be tiny. They didn't give us the scale when they scanned it.
it's the size of an escape pod basically, but
Mm-hmm.
still that is tiny if you think about the scale of things. It's microscopic if you think about the scale of things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No. So yeah, they got in through the exhaust blind spot, which was a neat touch. And they bluffed their way through a lot of the situations with Michael's xenoanthropology, and I thought that that was a nice reminder of that's what her background is before command.
Mm.
Uh, kind of off topic. Did you guys notice who directed this episode?
oh yeah,
I did.
Jonathan
it,
Frakes directed
Jonathan,
this episode.
Jonathan Frakes did come back in the end.
it's always good to have him back. It never didn't feel like one of his most memorable episodes, regardless. But it's always good to get him behind the camera. I'm
Yeah,
still I'm still wanting him to do a Star Wars movie. I really thought he could add something to it, some gravitas. But yeah, it's always good for him when he directs Star Trek. He's a phenomenal director.
absolutely. But like you said, not one of his really landmark episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
But something that kind of irked me was Michael's terrible timing with pulling Book aside in the middle of this
Right?
super important mission. Okay, I'm not the only one that was booked by that.
No. How long they jumped to that one point and oh, everything's broken. We have to wait for how many hours. They had all that time and she's gonna pull him aside in the Breen ship while they're sleuthing around and trying to be covert. Mm-mm. I didn't like that.
It's so cliched though, isn't it? It's something I've
Mm-hmm.
seen
We're
It's
in
a
danger.
it's a
Let's have an
trope.
important conversation.
Yeah, it's really it was all right. Because it was cliched and whatever. It's just there to fill in the time and will they get back together or won't they get back
Yeah.
together sort of thing as well. They're playing on two throughout the season. With little moments of their love for each other. In the time bug episodes and stuff like that. So yeah, I get it, and so I'm not too fussed about it.
No, they had to put it somewhere, but tiny thing. I had to point it out. We get the good old-fashioned discovery. Like Zam pointed out, it's hard to tell who's who when the characters are all roughly equal height. But decent fight choreography. And then we get to, we're starting to get more and more to where these plots intertwine. They have to take down the quarantine field, but it's taking way too long. So Raynor uses the distraction, calling in. So we continue shifting gears, or is there anything else about those segments that you guys might...
Well, it took the fact that they couldn't go through the doors as being a major issue. And obviously their replica visors was not going to do the trick. I had a feeling it wouldn't. I'll be shocked if it did. And yeah, that was their stumbling block, and they had to get rid of the guards as well. I was thinking to myself, you can't just leave the guards lying around. You got to put
throw
them
down the trash compactor.
No, put them in a locker like on Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's probably your phone, Cheetah.
I
don't hear any static on our side.
So, real quick, speaking of their replicated Breen gear, we got some scenes with everyone who went over where it's just their face and they had the Tony Stark, Iron Man HUD display. Mm-hmm. But the stuff they put around their faces, like over here, was it just me or did that all just look really bad?
Yeah, it looked bad. It looked like, they look worse.
They didn't have to do that.
Holly from Red Dwarf looked better than those guys did. And,
it was all this alien junk techno babble on either side of them. It was not very well thought out. It didn't feel like
bad UI. It looks like some of the bad WoW UI videos I've watched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did feel like they when you're going for a massage and you put your head through that hole, on when you lie down on your belly and there's a thing where you put your head through the hole. It looks like one of those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I'm on about through that cushion with the hole in it.
When did the first Iron Man come out? There's been plenty of time they could have looked up how did they do that in the heads-up display for Iron Man suit. But
that started the trend, that Iron Man thing. Ever since people in all types of media, when it comes to being in some sort of mech suit or something like that, Yeah, that's where it's kind of. I'm not sure if Iron Man was the first to do it, but they've definitely become like the.
They just perfected it.
The standard bearer for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Couple weird things that
okay.
Couple of things they happened. I was like, wait, since when? So, first of all, the Breen have transwarp. Transpride. No, transwarp is back.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't. It seems like, it got mentioned at the end of Voyager, and we don't really get to hear.
Sorry, I apologize, Adam. Some people are complaining. Maybe someone is static. I'm putting my putting certain things away from me. Hopefully that will improve. If it is me, I put my phone away as well.
I just muted myself. I don't hear it.
But we can't hear static
myself for a bit.
Away.
Well,
hey, it's Cousin Cheeto. Hello, sir.
Hey, I'm going to try to figure out who's static, so keep going.
Okay.
The other thing that stopped me, I was like, wait, since when? Discovery has cloak. I don't remember them having a cloak, but cool. It worked well in the episode.
Yeah, they got the cloak in the retrofit when they first arrived.
They don't need to have a Romulan officer on board to operate.
The rules have changed now, I guess, in the 32nd century. So.
Yep, treaty is out the window. I guess it might have been the burn that caused them to just start ignoring that.
Personally, if you have to make some sort of pact with Romulans and Klingons that you can't have cloaks, when Romulans especially quite, they can be quite conniving. We know what the Klingons are about, but the Romulans themselves, they're never known to be the most honorable of people. Even some Klingons try to be honorable to a degree. Obviously, you're going to get the wanker ones as well, but nevertheless, there's more. There's more different types of characteristics among Klingons compared to Romulans, where a lot of them are just wankers, just generally. So to make a treaty with those guys, like fuck it. If we want clone, if we want to, sorry, not clone, if we want to cloak our ships, then so be it. That's how I see it now, personally.
I've always thought that was a very unfair treaty. Like, everybody else gets to keep their cloaking tech, but the Federation can't develop it. Okay.
Yeah, agreed. Was wearing her heart on her sleeve.
They kept showing that something's going to happen to that device.
Well, prior to them going on the ship, we had that
the portable pattern buffer.
We had that my two dads moment.
We
had that my two.
Oh, we had the dads. Protecting their.
I was about. Yep, in the Adira and Reese plot line.
Mm-hmm. And you saw it from different.
That gave me warmed my heart.
You saw it from different perspectives as well. Like, Colbert was like, "Yeah, you go get him. You go get him," and looking.
Stan was like, "Hold on now."
And Stan was just shitting his pants.
Yep, it was really touching when the dad saw them off. I liked that moment. And I like this giving Adira like this little mini arc this season. I've been a kind of I gripe sometimes about serialization, but this is one aspect of it that I'm really enjoying. I like seeing their growth as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, if the static is me, which is fair enough, how do I resolve that?
I still hear it. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, all right. I've been kind of listening. So, I mean, sorry, I've been running around for all evening. So I agree with you guys. I mean, this episode wasn't as good as the past couple episodes, but I didn't think it was bad by any stretch of the imagination. I already saw that Rick B is already doing his typical, "Oh, it's bad no matter what." So yeah, I know. Whatever. Bye.
Beaming on the next one.
But yeah, I do agree. Yeah, like they kind of pulled the transwarp thing out of nowhere. I'm like, really? Like, is it like a transwarp gate? Maybe the Breen started using transwarp after the Borg kind of disappeared after Picard, and maybe they kind of like acquired some of those transwarp gates. Because you can't use Okay, so according to Star Trek lore, you can't use transwarp without a gate. Technically, transwarp has to be used with a gate, otherwise you get salamander babies.
Stargate?
Yes, a Stargate, pretty much. But that's why you always see the Borg using transwarp gates, because you can't just transwarp without some kind of like not MacGuffin, but like management device, because then you'll get salamander babies. So
I just remember Warp 13 in the last episode of TNG, and stuff like that. So like they changed the law when it suits them, I think.
Absolutely.
Remember when the Excelsior had transwarp, and when it tried to follow Enterprise, it had car breaking down sound effects?
Mm-hmm.
Sputtering starship. Starfleet.
I don't think they knew exactly what they wanted
transwarp ship for sale. Gently used. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say, Donkey?
I was just the whole. Well, as soon as they got to, and they were showing that the big MacGuffin. Now we have the tiny MacGuffin that went inside the big MacGuffin, and was a key the whole time. The whole, as soon as they said, "Oh, it's in the shuttle bay," the whole episode was like, "Decompress the shuttle bay. Decompress the shuttle bay." Why haven't you decompressed the shuttle bay yet? I was getting so mad.
Honestly, I loved the moment when they took Discovery into the hangar bay.
Yeah,
that reminded me of Wing Commander, because what I would always do with the Kilrathi carriers is I would fly in their hangar bays, and they can't shoot you. So you would fly into their hangar bays and then just start pummeling them with like missiles and torpedoes and just regular weapons until they blew up. Then you would hit your afterburners, because once the ship would start to delete and like spin out of control, then you'd have to floor it out of there before the ship like came up and hit you, because your ship wouldn't move, but their ship would. So like, you know, and it's a pretty tight squeeze. I mean, you know, so, but that's what that part reminded me. I marked out for that part. I'm like, yes, we're doing the killer athlete carrier.
Oh, we don't want to blow everyone to space, but all the Breen have helmets, and if Maul dies, oh, okay. But
I mean, they could reactivate their helmets, can't they?
Well, yeah, and they just hit the button. Oh, yep, it's back. Yep. It's the Peter Quill nanotech mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't too concerned about them getting blown out of space.
I loved when Book was getting hit on by the other Breen. I don't know if you guys talked about that yet. That was
we haven't
yet.
I was like, he's like it's getting weird. I'm like, man, you really need to go out and hang out with
Book,
me and my friends.
32nd century man. It's not getting weird. At a certain
it's funny,
point,
like Breen small talk. It's like, so, yeah, it's like.
Well, but do they really have gender? I mean, they're fluidic, right?
They're goo,
like Yao Fett from Orville. Like they're kind of fluidic, like because they have like a gelatin form, which is what's under their mask, and then they have like a solid form, which is what Maul was. Mm-hmm. So that's, from my understanding, how that works. I don't know why it works or why they have it, but
I think it's one of those alien races that it's still up in the air with which way they want to do what they want to do with it.
The Breen are literally gender fluid.
Oh, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they seem to be all more masculine, regardless. You know, they got a masculine tone, a bit like what's his name from Orville.
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
They don't come across as like non-binary or anything like that. They all come across quite masculine.
Yeah, that's annoying.
They come off as assholes, so that's why they're masculine.
Well, yeah, they mention nephew, uncle, and stuff like that. These are all masculine terms.
Have they mentioned female?
Yeah.
Gendered anything?
No.
But they do have a concept of a wife, but it doesn't matter.
Zam, I'm very curious. Have you watched Jessie Gender's review yet?
Yeah.
What did she have to say about it? I'm curious. I haven't. I don't usually watch her too much, but she's the first person I thought of when talking about all this kind of stuff. Did she have anything to say about it?
She never really mentioned any of that, to tell you the truth.
Okay, I just was curious if she did. I mean, she normally would, from what I've gathered.
It's got a lot of the stuff. It's got trans warp. It's got Daddy Stamets being afraid for his adopted child.
Well, the thing is regarding the Breen, I mean, Jesse might have mentioned it in the previous review, but I haven't seen all of her reviews this season. But I did watch episode 9 earlier today, just to get an idea of this. I like sometimes like watching other people's reviews because it can maybe expand my opinion on things that I never picked up on, which I do realize after they mention it. So yeah, but she never really said anything in her current review that really stood out for me.
I did like the fact that Reese got some action this week.
He did.
More action, yeah.
Right. At first, I was confused. I didn't realize he was on the away mission, and I thought, why is Commander Grumpy Pants making Tilly the first officer when the last episode Reese was in command? But then I saw he was on the away mission, so that made sense.
I'm going to call him Rainer, by the way, and I like the fact that until the very, very end of this episode, he finally sat down on the captain's chair because he knew he had to really play that role now, especially with Michael, who went into the Stargate by the end of the episode as well. That's really what I'm going to call it, by the way. He looked like a
sound very convincing when he said Michael was dead.
Oh, he was, yeah. I mean,
that got flipped immediately anyway. But
I'll give one thing to Starfleet officers: they know how to bullshit. You know, over the years, watching them when it comes to their tactical nous, when it comes to talking to the enemy, that's why they play poker.
Gotta know how to bluff.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um, so the Saru plotline, it's what we opened with
Mm.
on the episode, and kind of he got to be the audience surrogate that got the exposition. But it quickly
Oh,
came. It seemed they're trying to like spell doom on his wedding, and almost doing a "are we going to kill off Saru" type of thing. Are you guys getting those type of vibes? And if
I
so, do you think
absolutely.
they'll actually do it? Start with you, Sam.
I'm a bit concerned because look, if if season 5 is the final episode, do you really want to go out like this on a sour note by killing off Saru?
Mm.
I think by now, the writers of Trek or the people who are Paramount, whoever it may be, they know that Saru is a popular character. But we had some of those cliches in episode 2 or 3 earlier this season where we thought he might have died, and because it was his last mission and so on. And now he's coming out of retirement, and he tells Turin that I'll see you
That's her
soon.
name.
I'll see
Mm-hmm.
you soon.
In
And
that moment,
it's like,
eh,
it's the last day before retirement for a beat cop type bullshit. You know what I mean? It
It,
really is.
it was as soon as he volunteered to go on the mission, like, oh, he's
mm-hmm.
gonna die.
But
But the grain of salt is it's Star Trek. Death is never the end.
I want to quickly add to this. Now, we all saw on season 3 or 4, I forgot what it was. I mean, how many seasons of Orville has there been? 3 or 4?
3.
Only 3, yeah?
3.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the final episode of the Orville was fantastic with the wedding, and I think in a way maybe Trek wants to copy that formula and end with a wedding and everyone smiling and happy and all that shit. So I think they'll be teasing us with him maybe dying here or there. Hopefully he does live, but you just can't tell. Will they go with the cliche, or will they go out with let's copy the Orville and do a big wedding and end the season that way? You never know. It's up in the air, and I give them credit for that in a way,
Yeah.
not knowing.
Cheeto?
I mean, it can go either way. I mean, yes, they didn't know when they were filming that this was the last season. So, I mean, if they were going to kill him, I feel like that was probably the original plan, was to kill him at this point. But then again, they just made him an ambassador, so I feel like they would have just left him on the ship if they were going to kill him. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know. I mean, they might try to trip Tucker him.
Let's hope they don't do him dirty like our boy.
Well, I still feel that somebody might. I mean, it could be Reese for all we know, because they're giving him some screen time all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So if he does
Mm.
go, there's somebody who could be on the chopping block simply because of the amount of screen time he's got the last couple of episodes. And he's probably the most recognizable out of the rest of the cast, because our usual helmsmen, women that is, we haven't seen them in fucking ages, and that's it. There's nobody else on the bridge who are really recognizable. So he could go. My money was on Stamets. Obviously, it's looking like a long shot now. You never know. So it could be something that comes out of left field. I don't know. Some people always want somebody to die for the sake of the narrative. I mean, do we need that? Do we need somebody to die? I mean,
I
I
don't.
don't know.
I don't think so.
I feel like every time it takes away, like there are certain moments in history in sci-fi where it's justified. Like Captain America dying in the comic books at the end of Civil War, that was honestly
Mhm.
the punctuation mark at the end of Civil War in the comics that I always was mad that they walked back. Not that I didn't want Steve Rogers Captain America, but it was a very big moment in the Marvel cinematic. It's like almost like the death of Superman. Like they kind of walked that. And yes, it was originally planned to be walked back anyway, but it was such a major event that it almost feels cheap to walk it back. What's it? Shax at the end of season 1 of Lower Decks. They
Yeah,
walked that one back, like, and I get it, it was a joke, like at least when he came back. Oh, people die and there's a mountain and blah blah. But at the same time, they really did a good job killing off Shax. Like they did a
Mike,
great job. And for them to just
amazing job.
walk that back, that was very, very disconcerting.
just how happy Shax was, doing what he was doing and giving up his life for the mission, and they were like, you couldn't have asked for this to happen to a better person in a way, and you hardly knew the guy, but but that's a credit to Lower Decks as well. So yeah, but I'm luckily with several seasons gone by now. I'm glad I'm kind of over all that Shax bollocks. Yeah, so.
I don't feel like we need a death. This
We don't.
isn't Spock sacrificing himself and then coming back in the next episode, the next movie. There's no next movie, so I don't feel like we need a death.
Yeah, but this is permadeath now. We're talking about like,
Yeah,
it's gonna be, I don't know. I mean, look, if it happens, fair enough. If it doesn't, fair enough. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm looking forward to that final episode though. So
I am. Especially, I'm predicting kind of a longer finale episode after this kind of truncated episode. The length of this one's something that at first I thought, well, yeah, good, it's making this is better pacing. But then I heard Donkey's criticism, and I'm like, it did kind of feel rushed at points. Like,
I don't feel like it was that rushed, honestly.
It's such a tight line to walk. But I think
There's
maybe
just a
it could
lot
have
in
benefited
this
from another
episode.
5 minutes of screen time. There is a lot. Like, I finally hit 4 pages of notes again, and I haven't done that all season.
Well, and that's what I'm like. I feel like there was a lot in here. I just don't feel like it was poorly paced. Like I feel like it was well paced. That's just my opinion though. I mean, I'm the one who the pacing of The Last Skywalker didn't really bug him. Like if you are on a throw ride and
The Last Skywalker
or the Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Like it was a
Star
high
Wars
octane
movies.
movie. Like they went bam 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 bam. I didn't mind that as long as I knew what I was getting. You know what I mean? Like
I would rather it be on this side of things because honestly, week before last, I found myself looking at how much was left on the episode on both watches, and this time it was just like, oh, it's over? Oh, damn. No, I really enjoyed this one.
Just regarding what they've gone into, because honestly, we really don't know what. Because some people say it's some sort of gate or a doorway. We have no idea, but I don't want it to be like, oh, this place looks like Alabama, or oh, this looks like, you know what I mean, or this place looks, like, and it projects what you know in your mind, like what happened to Burnham last week. You know what I mean? In a way, I would hate that. I would really hate that if that's how they do it. Look, this place resembles whatever you like or love or whatever, and it just looks like any ordinary fucking place you've already been to. Shit like that would really fucking piss me off. It would be like the Nexus all over again. No. I just, whatever they do with what she's gone into, it has to have some decent payoff. And there's a couple of Breen in there as well, so they need to acknowledge all these things too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how they pull that off. And there's no surprise that Burnham just jumped in there without a fucking second thought.
Oh, I knew that was happening.
That's her. That's her all
her.
day.
No surprise.
Yeah.
But Book didn't follow.
Well, he never had a chance, did he? I think.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
he wasn't too far away.
It's not the Michael Book show. It's the Michael Burnham show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Next, and we get to see the villain, maybe possible face turn next week if she talks down Maul. Unless what I predict will happens, and like we've both talked about maybe, or Zam's mostly talked about, like if somebody goes off the deep end from losing one of them. She hasn't done that yet because she thinks she can bring him back. But they made a point of zooming in on the portable pattern buffer at one point. I feel like they're going to destroy that plot device and perma-kill Locke now that he's in there. And that
That'll
she
send
will
her
just...
over the edge. Yeah. That'll make her go mad.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the way she... Sorry, go on, please.
No, I think we're in the like same line of thought. That level of grief, somebody who's already kind of got as many issues as this poor young girl has, loses the one thing that's anchoring her to kind of some sort of semblance of normalcy, would be very detrimental to her mental health.
Well, she's not the same villain as the guy she killed last week, and so
No.
I mean, she was willing to leave the Discovery alone, even after knowing that they had survived, and she didn't want to kill Michael or Book. She was
No.
willing to put them in the brig. All of these things, her plans have changed. Obviously, she wants to get Locke back, and all of that. And prior to that, it was just before he died, it was just them two just living with each other. Her plans are kind of simple, even though she's got a massive army now underneath her. We've still been teased, by the way, regarding the Breen, other factions of the Breen. I thought we might have seen them today, but we didn't. But what we've ended up now is this portal in space caused by the destruction of the Super MacGuffin. The mini MacGuffin in the Super. Well, you got the mini MacGuffin and you got the Super. Yeah. And so the Super MacGuffin's blown up now, and it's created a super portal. I don't know if Rain when he finally sat on that seat, I thought, okay, well, we're going to fly this ship inside there. I have no idea. It's hard to know what's going to be going on from here.
I believe, in my mind, I think he's going to end up having some sort of like comm screen confrontation with the other Primarch, the one from his past.
Yeah, that's the one that's on.
So that'll be the payoff for his whole season-long arc, his character development, him having to confront that trauma from his past and come to grips with it and get some closure.
Yeah. The device when open reminded me of a large prophet orb. I don't know, but this jelly Breen, by the way, you're absolutely right. With their heads look like gummies. They really do. I just want to fucking chew on it.
Would you like a jelly,
are
baby?
they watermelon or are they green apple flavored?
Both. So, yeah.
Okay.
It was a good episode with an okay episode. Let me rephrase myself. Like the infiltration parts. I mean, even with Adira in this episode and her having to do what she did, like I never really felt much came from her while she was there. Like, what the hell was she doing?
That's what I mentioned earlier about the tension. There wasn't enough.
Yeah, like they never gave her or Reese enough time on there.
Reese just wanted to kick somebody. He jumped over that console like, I'm gonna kick you.
It's Discovery. We have to have like a minimum of 2 fight scenes. If there's no pew-pews, you got to have 2 melees because they ideally are going for 1 fist fight and 1 shootout, either ship to ship or hand to hand. Drink when you get a nice buzz every Discovery.
Well, even though, like I said, it was cool to get Reese and more screen time and stuff like that, it didn't feel shared well enough between Adira and Reese. Like regarding Adira, like obviously she's going into the deep end a little bit here with this away mission and all of that, and maybe she's becoming more competent. I don't know. I mean, she feels very much like how Tilly was, and you can see how where Tilly is now as well, like playing active first officer as well.
Following the footsteps.
Yeah. So I'm glad that she's not showing levels of incompetence because that would be the wrong way to go in a way.
Hesitation, not incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm glad she's over that too as well. She seems to be a little bit more on the job, but I just don't feel like we're focusing enough on that. If you know what I mean, on her arc, of the less of a nervousness. And once again, she's got a fucking Trill symbiote inside her. I want to see more of that. I want to see the personality of that symbiote. And I think they've ruined that now. I don't think there's no coming back from that.
They've dropped that thread and it's gone into that black hole.
I've called her she on many occasions. I do apologize. I know it's day, but sometimes I find my mind not hitting that sense at times. I do apologize. I know when I've used the wrong pronoun, but day.
No,
as concerned as Indira's adopted dads were to send them on this away mission, I felt like there could have been more tension that, they got put in more danger or, gets hands up kind of confrontation with the Breen. So
I don't know. I
See
mean, I
it.
feel like, but also it's. I think Taval put it very well. Is that they live a life of service, like with Starfleet. Like with with the Federation, with whatever. They live a life of service, and that gets complicated and messy no matter what. So, I mean, I think it's good that he let her go because she's a Starfleet officer first in the in this scenario, and I know that they want to protect her, but you know, you have to kind of do the you kind of have to let them do what they're supposed to do.
Leave the nest.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
leave the
So-
engineering section.
Spread their little wings.
The
Did you guys
scienceering section. It's like
Did you
more
guys en-
sciencey than engineering, but it does feel like the engineering deck. You know what I mean? Like, but it's more sciencey, so it's the scienceering section.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's the evolution of engineering that has become more science based, I guess. So in that
Soon we're only
period
going
of
to
time.
need 2 colors.
Well, did you guys I know we briefly mentioned this earlier, but regarding that scene where they break into the Breen dreadnought ship, like I'm thinking to myself, why are we decloaking here? Like, can't you do all this shit while you're cloaking? Why do you have to decloak?
You have to. I think the cloak would be destabilized, and they had to, in order to fire, they had to decloak. Although, I figure they probably should have gotten past that in the 32nd century because they had a bird of prey in the 22nd century firing while cloaked, even though it was a prototype. But I'm figure, what is it, 900 years later?
That's over 1,000 years from that
It's 1,000
timeline.
years later.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I still feel like I think they needed them distracted anyway till they could get like the actual like shields of the ship down. So that's why they probably decloaked, because they were like, well, we're gonna distract them, so let's decloak and keep them distracted. I don't know. I mean, I'm grasping at straws, but I can headcanon it away.
If anybody
funny
can to you.
It's not as dramatic though as when folks in Star Wars decloak. Let's fight.
It's funny because this device, this MacGuffin, is 800 years old. That would be ancient even for our times, But in this, it's still maybe like a couple of 100 years after like some of the stuff the Star Trek were kind of more involved in, like that from the TNG timeline, But yeah, it's still ancient history. It's weird to get right.
I hope what that portal is I think it should have been the Borg portal, like the portal that the Borg Queen used in Picard to when Picard teleported to Riker's farm planet. So I felt like that should, because that technology would have technically been available back then, when they made this thing, and it would explain why, and yeah, they have kind of technology like that now, but I feel like that would have been like, what technology did they walk into? Like, they don't have interdimensional technology in the 24th century, 23rd century, so it just would have made more sense if it was like a Borg thing. Plus, it was green. The Borg were green.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, even like the whole shape of it, it reminisces on Borg a tiny bit. Not enough to totally make it think it's Borg, but it could be enough.
I wonder if it was originally Borg and they just decided to take it out, since like all the Borg stuff that's been going on in Star Trek, they're like, yeah, this might be a bit overkill.
And even
lose the Borg but keep the green.
Yeah, I mean, even the Breen themselves, they're like a carbon copy of the Borg to a degree. They're faceless individuals. They're green. They've got their own sort of language. They all look the same pretty much. They remind me of the
Borg. The Borg are very diverse. Like they all have different VCR parts taped to their head. Like,
I know, but they're still relatively the same in a particular aspect, and same with the Breen. And same with the Breen. They're all very similar. They got a unique sort of language and code. They're all very robotic in a way, even though they're humans underneath there. So
I mean, them
I
being
know,
uniform. I mean, they do have a uniform, but like, if you look at them, like their facial stuff and everything, like that's all different. Like,
I'm not saying they're super
listen,
similar,
we
but
know you're racist against Borgzam, so
I knew you'd come up with something
all
stupid
Borg look the
eventually.
same. Yeah,
I knew
we
you'd
got
come up
it.
with something stupid eventually. You couldn't help yourself. But regardless, I think there's just similarities. I'm not saying they're the same. That's all. And
Okay,
it feels like
humans look the
they're a
same
mixture.
too.
Well, I don't get it. I mean, I'm just saying the green aspects of it, like the black uniforms, like the whole, like they're like a massive collective in this giant, humongous ship, which is bigger than the Starfleet ship. There are similarities, but all right, fair enough, whatever.
Okay, there are similarities. They are the big bad booty daddy of this season.
And they're green.
Okay.
They make me think of Bosch the bounty hunter. The
Bosch?
one that
Yeah,
dog.
from Star Wars.
Yeah. That's the
yeah,
vibe
that-
that I've
yeah.
always got.
Yeah,
Let me remind myself. I need to Google this fucker.
it's
The one that Leia impersonated when breaking into Jabba's palace.
Okay.
yeah.
So
Okay.
tied into an
I've
infiltration.
always thought that. I'm like, oh, Bosch
Yeah, I
got his
see
own
that.
race in Star Trek.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe Bosch went through that portal that they just opened and ended up in a galaxy far, far away.
Well, if you look at Bosch, if you actually look at Bosch, he looks more like a Tusken Raider than he does a Brain.
Under the mask, yeah.
No, actually, the mask itself has got that Tusken Raider vibe about it.
Oh, yeah. That a little
Have a-
because
if you
it's
look
got
at
like
it-
the little cloth, like mouth,
Yeah.
sideways
Yeah.
mouth looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that was about all I had. Do you guys have any final thoughts, or do we want to put up the poll and do marks?
On it, boss.
No, I'm good.
Vincent Donkey, any final thoughts? Nope.
Just Paul Stamets' quote that math doesn't lie.
Love it. Who wants to start with marks? Cheeto? Why don't we start with you?
I'm gonna give it a 7. I thought it was a pretty good episode. It was very high octane, very there were some suspenseful moments in it. I see the issues that you guys have, like with some of the episode, but I give it a solid 7. I think that there was a lot of good in here. I think the only things that really took away from it was the some of the techno babble just seemed like it was like, hey, let's just put techno babble here. And I get it, that's Star Trek, but try to be a little more careful with placement. And the other thing is when Burnham, and I think you guys already talked about this, when Burnham pulled Book aside and they had their conversation, I'm like, this is not the time. Like this is not the time. Like that was very cringe, and I really hated that. But everything else about the episode was pretty solid to me. So I don't know. I give it a solid 7. Donkey, go ahead. You're next.
I'm going with an 8. There were some parts that felt like they stumbled a bit, but all in all, great little heist, sneaking in through the ship and seeing Michael get to yell at people. It was good.
Okay. Zam?
Sets us up.
7 for me. It was an okay episode. Didn't reinvent the wheel or do anything too spectacular. 100% set up for sure. When watching this, and I'm hoping if it is a setup episode, then it does a good job for the finale, which I'm looking forward to, and I'm also dreading because you know what, Discovery has started pretty badly in my opinion, but I think every season it just got a little bit better. So yeah, 7 out of 10 regardless. I'm mumbling on.
Okay. And for me, it's a 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the pacing better than the past couple of weeks, but some minor irks got me a little bit. But it was entertaining, for sure, but not Frakes' best episode. But I want to
I
thank
forgot Frakes directed this episode.
He sure did.
Yeah,
He
it
did
didn't
come
feel
back.
like a very good Frakes episode. Like, I've come to expect more out of Frakes when he directs. Like, as I said, solid episode, but like usually Frakes' episodes are a step above usually.
Yeah, you can only polish something so much and put so much shine on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So comes down to script in the end. So I want to thank my co-hosts, Cousin Cheeto, Ensign Donkey, and Zam. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Want to thank the audience. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, there's more of it. We do Discovery reviews, Star Trek. As long as there's new Trek on, we're here on Thursday nights reviewing it, or whatever day it comes on. When we're not doing that, we have our Highly Illogical podcast. Come join us tomorrow night. We'll be doing The World's Gone Insane, which is a variety podcast and current events show. Do we have anything in particular on the docket for tomorrow, Sam?
Well, in the UK, we are finally going to be having our general election. And you know what day that election is going to be on?
Sorry? July 4th?
July 4th. And so we're going to have finally our own Independence Day.
You finally get freedom.
Well, once the Tories are out, hopefully, yeah. So it looks like their time is done, pretty much. And we're talking about that, as well as obviously some of the other things that have been happening. I've got some really good TikTok clips as well that I'll always like to show off, which is going to be fascinating, as well as the unfortunate story of the Singapore airline plane that hit turbulence and a passenger died, unfortunately, through the turbulence. Always wear your seatbelt when you're sitting in the plane. Never keep it off. That's the moral of the story regarding that. So, yeah.
And also, just really quick, Daniel Vance did post a link here. However, you can also join us here on NerdTube for that as well, because it'll actually be simulcast on NerdTube later on tonight. So you can go to the link, and you should go to the link and support them. But you can also watch on NerdTube, so you can support us too, because it'll be simulcast at the same time on both channels. So,
and there is an interview afterwards, correct, Cheeto?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so make sure to check.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, just all sorts of nerdy stuff here on the channel. So if you're up into comics, sports entertainment, Trek, wars, sci-fi of any sort, Zam reviews a lot of gangster shows and stuff like that. If you're into stuff like that, then you want to subscribe. You've been watching NerdTube. Remember it.